Well, good morning. This morning we're gonna go fix fence because the cows and the wind decided to take some of it down, so got calves that are liking to wander out. So we're gonna go take care of that. All right, well, we found one of our problems. Way down there was a tree down on the fence. Well, not really a tree, just a limb. And then right here, the cows have a tendency to go down in here, go up underneath the fence and come up out of there. So what I do is I hang a little piece of wire down off of this piece of wire there. I don't know if you can really see it, but I hang little pieces of wire down so it still zaps them, keeps them inside there. Well, the water had gotten up high and it pulled the piece of wire down into the water, so it's sitting down there shorting out. So that was a pretty easy fix. Go plug the fence back in and make sure we've got current all the way around and we'll be good to go. But first I'm going to throw a little mineral in their mineral feeder back here and make them happy. So it's about time to start feeding hay and feeding grain. That bull calf right there and right there, those are our culprits that had this section of the fence down. There was a limb on it, and then their legs got tangled in it while they were trying to walk through it, and they pulled a bunch more down. They're a pain sometimes. I like them, but they're a pain. I dumped a little bit of mineral in the trough here. Normally put ground feed in here, but they love that, so they always come running when they see you park up here. They always come running. They want to get them some of that. It's like cocaine for cows. They're loving it. Oh yeah, get you some of that. That one kind of looks like Charlie Sheen or Joe Biden's son. Anyhow, they're enjoying it. All right, we've got our fence charger plugged back in. So we'll go hook the two gates up. And as long as they're sparking, we know we're getting current all the way around the fence. So that's what we want. Look at that pretty shiny combine. That thing is just mint. I'm glad to see that thing all cleaned up. Also threw a little bit of gas in this thing. And I'll show you here. This one will spark because it's at the beginning of the circuit. And I'm about due for a new gate because I'm going to get myself shocked one of these days. You'll see that sparks. Okay, so we got power there. So then the fence goes all the way around the pasture back up to here. And I'll show you, as long as we've got a spark right here, we've got power all the way around. I can hear it. Yeah, we got a good spark there, so fence is fixed. We're good to go. Well, while we're out and about, we're gonna kick this on. Well, what do you do when you really don't have any field work to be doing because it's too wet? You go shop for equipment. Just kind of looking around. There's a couple pieces of equipment that I'd like to get bought this winter. One of them is not life and death, but the other one I would like to have before next spring. So, doing a little shopping around, seeing what's around. I'd like to have that Haggy there. I will admit that the new 8Rs are pretty slick, but I've not seen any with a front end loader like that. That's interesting. I haven't seen any like that. There's a reel disc. That one's a little bit bigger than mine. I think that's 10 foot wider. And a grain cart that can hold, pretty near 2 semis, so I'll pass on that. I don't want the compaction and I don't have the tractor to pull it, but it would be nice. I'd also love to have one of these Geringhoff draper heads. I think of all the draper heads I've seen, those Geringhoffs are kind of my favorite, but they cost more than my combine, so probably not gonna happen. But I don't see anything I have to have sitting on this lot, but never hurts to look. It's always kind of fun to look, actually. I'd like to have that Haggy as well. I've always got to start on the used lot and look at the stuff I can actually afford and work my way up to the new lot, to the stuff that I'd just like to look at. So far, I don't see anything I've got to have. Most of it's stuff I already have, like that reel disc. And that reel disc, half the blades are broke on it, and I paid less for my reel disc than they're asking for that one, and mine's in a lot better shape, so can't complain there. Got a pretty good deal on mine though. I was looking at a couple of these turbo tills before I bought mine, but for what I got mine for, I really couldn't turn it down, and I'm pretty happy with it so far. But I am looking to buy a trailer like one of these. I'd like a trailer that I could put fertilizer totes or something like that on, seed on, put the Polaris on, get myself moved back and forth to the fields. Looking for something along those lines, but I'm not sure yet. This is interesting. You might come home with me. Well, today we're cashing checks and then writing checks. I've got all of my soybeans bought for next year, and I'm getting ready to go meet a guy. We're gonna go grab lunch, and I'm gonna pretty much settle up on the rest of my seed corn for next year. 80% of it is gonna be AgriGold, about 20% of it is gonna be Pioneer, and then 100% of the beans next year are also gonna be Pioneer. And I'm going to have all Enlist beans next year. I grew dicamba and Enlist this year. I did not see a yield difference really between the two. The Enlist stayed a lot cleaner and they were a heck of a lot easier to spray, so that's the route I'm gonna take on those. Other than that, I've got my yield maps to overlay with my soil maps so I can get my variable rate maps made for my fertility program. That way we can variable rate all of my P and K, so my DAP and potash will all be variable rated, and then I will also be putting some lime down. Well, I won't be doing it. I hire all my fertilizer done, but they variable rate everything, so gonna get that done. Got a lot of grain to haul, got a lot of projects to do in the shop. I'm gonna rebuild the planter this winter, so we're done with harvest and mostly done with tillage, but that does not mean that we are done completely. So there's a nice ripped field out there. Grow some 250 bushel corn next year. Pretty excited for that. Well, good morning, folks. We're starting the morning out by putting new headlights in the Polaris because the ones that were in it sucked. So now we have nice bright LEDs. They're about 3 times brighter, so hopefully I can actually see when I drive this thing at night now. Oh yeah, that's much better. Much better. Looks a lot better than the halogen lights too. Since we're borderline done with field work, we're gonna get this cold-natured girl out, if she'll start. There we go. Anyhow, we're gonna get this cold-natured girl out so we can get that tractor out, put the front loader on it, and start feeding hay for the winter, because we've got a lot of cows that are gonna start getting hungry if we don't. before I do move that tractor out, I'm gonna fix this shank. We got our new bolt here. Just stick it through there, goes through there. You get the point, but it doesn't want to budge. So I got just the tool to give it an attitude adjustment. It's hammer time. Okay, it is time to get the tractor that is my least favorite, but also ironically the newest tractor on the farm out. And it's got a flat tire, so go figure. This thing's filthy too. Absolutely filthy in here. But that's okay, because it's gonna be feeding hay and I'll be tracking cow crap in here and everything else, so it isn't like it's gonna get any cleaner than what it is. This one doesn't stay very clean, especially in the winter, and it needs fuel. So first things first, you want her in pretty much the lowest gear you can put it in, although it is just pretty much creeping forward right now. But you want to line up completely perfect. You pull right into it. You got to get those pins sitting in those cradles. So we'll pull up here, get her lined up, and then you hook your hydraulics up and basically lower it down into it. So right there, we're hooked. Now for our hydraulics. So this is a quick coupler hydraulic system. It's really similar to the new combines. All 4 hoses are just right here. You set that on there, shove this forward, maybe, and that latches. Take this, put your cover back on, and your hydraulics are hooked. Pretty simple. So this is your hydraulic remote, and you can see it's not doing anything right now. Because I've got it locked. You unlock it here, let it do its thing, and now we should be able to move it. Maybe. Maybe I lied. What do we got going on here? Well, I'm going to play with this thing for a second. I forget how to unlock it. It should be unlocked. Well, sometimes you just gotta play with it. So flip the switch a few more times. Now our hydraulics are working. So you'll curl your bucket, which actually lowers the loader, and it'll set it down in there, pick things up. Now we want to put our pins in, and we should be good to go. So there's just 2 of these pins. Basically, you pull that piece of plastic out, spring loaded in there. So you can see the pin right there, and that pin is supposed to go in this hole, so we need to curl it just a little bit. But I've released the lock on both pins. See, this one's the same way. So I've released the lock on them. See, it's got a unlock and lock there. You just turn this. So when we curl it back down, she should latch itself, hopefully, and it didn't. Well, back to the drawing board. Alright, so we got both pins locked now. You can see it's all the way through right here. So now what we're going to do is take our spring, latch that right there, which all that does is pulls that pin and that pin out here, so we can drop the bucket off, put the forks on, and feed a bale or 2 of hay. Simple as that, right? So the nice thing about that quick latch deal is you just unlatch it. There's no pins to worry about lining up or anything. You pretty much just tilt the bucket and drop it off. We've got a bucket, we've got a grapple, and then we've got our forks right there, which are mildly bent up. It wasn't me, for the record. I didn't do it. But So we got 3 attachments for this tractor. That grapple is really handy sometimes, but I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of this tractor, but it does what it needs to do. Alright, so we've got our first bale of hay for the season. Gonna have some happy cows after a while. I'm also gonna start feeding ground feed, so I'm sure they'll be a fan of that as well. Okay, let's see if I'm still worth the crap at getting these hay rings around the bale without getting out of the tractor as well. Normally I can do it just fine, but it's been a good 9 months since I've done this. Oh, that's beautiful. Got it first try. It's kind of hard to do this one-handed though. Now we back up. Well, I may have lied. There we go. Now we'll just tap it down with the forks and we got her made. And the cows haven't seen me up here yet, otherwise they'd be running. They must be over the hill where they can't see me. And I need to clean the windows in this thing because you can't see anything. We're gonna go ahead and feed a second bale just for good measure. Maybe this one will get their attention, I don't know. Well, ideally, I wouldn't have fed hay right in the cockleburr patch, but I'm gonna come up here with the little finish mower and knock these down so they don't have cockleburrs stuck all over them. The reason we put them here, we've got a little laneway there that's actually, believe it or not, got gravel under it. But this here, there's manure probably 3 foot deep. It's kind of heaped up here. And then we'll feed in piles, because where they eat, I say don't shit where you eat, but the cows don't pay attention to that. So we'll get piles of manure out here and spread that throughout the winter. One thing I am gonna do is bring a weed eater down here. This little corral here we catch calves in to get them moved around. Now the other day, I put some mineral in here. I'm gonna check and see if they actually went in here or not. There's tracks, so it looks like they did. Yeah, they've been nibbling around on it. They haven't gotten through all of it, but I'll put some ground feed in here, get the calves where they're starting to come in here as a routine. And then one of these days when I catch them in here, I shut the gate, got them caught in here, back the trailer up here, get them loaded in a trailer. Now there's 3 calves in particular right now that don't think that fences apply to them, and they continue to run right through the fence whether it's hot or not. Now it's only those 3 calves that are doing it, so it's time for those 3 calves to find a new home. I'm tired of fixing fence. They're rambunctious calves. I'm tired of messing with them, so I don't know. If I can find a meat locker, that's where they're going. Well, they say one man's junk is another man's treasure, and I had an idea. Our bulk tanks that we're putting ground feed in are pretty much rotted out and shot. So we were gonna use our big 400 bushel gravity wagon and just put ground feed in that for the winter and stick it in the shop. Then I got to thinking, we got this little bitty gravity wagon sitting down here in the weeds, so as long as it's not completely rotted out, I'm gonna unhook the fence, drag this thing out with a tractor, and I'll just put the ground feed in here. And look at that. There's not even a hole in it. This will work perfect. Well, after a little persuading, I'm hooked onto the wagon. You know, with a fork and all, but hey, it's still moving it. So we're dragging this thing out because I didn't feel like messing with the jack because it doesn't have a jack on it. We're gonna drag it up here so we can put some feed in it. Works like a charm. As long as my fork doesn't slip off of it, it rolls back down the hill. The amazing thing about this is this thing's been sitting down in the weeds for probably close to 10 years. and it's still got air in the tires. I'm not saying they're completely aired up, but it's got enough that I'm dragging it around and they're not flat. Quite the hitch pin on here right now, as you can see. But it's working. Okay, we're just about ready to get this high-tech operation on the road. Now, you can see that the auger is not underneath the hole there. And you're asking, well, how are you going to get the feed out? Well, that thing's rusted out and rotted out inside. I'm going to beat a hole in it with a sledgehammer. If that doesn't work, I'll go get a sawzall and cut a hole in it. But that bolt bin is shot. The outside's been painted I don't know how many times, so it looks nicer on the outside than what it is, but that thing is pretty much completely shot. In fact, the other side of it's got about 5 license plates holding the dang thing together. Alright, we're hooked up, so kick our PTO on here. So it's time to knock a hole in this rig. So I'll show you what I'm working with here. That's good feed. It doesn't smell stale. We put that in there probably 2 or 3 months ago. My dilemma is when I took the sledge to it, I knocked a hole in it, but it's just black rotten feed that's been stuck to the outside of the bin. I'm not getting any feed out, so I'm gonna keep hacking away at it with the fence post, and hopefully we can get the good feed to come down and get some of it in the auger. I hate to waste it, but this thing's going to the scrap yard or probably just shoved in the trees somewhere because it's seen its better days. I mean, I didn't even have to tap that hard to get the hammer to go through the side of that, so it's pretty much shot. Alright, I finally hit the good spot on it. We got some feed out. I know more than said that and started recording and it quit running out, but we're getting something. So we'll keep plugging away at it and see what we can't get to fall out of here. That stuff is just paper thin. I definitely don't want to feed the cows the black moldy crap, so I'm trying to keep that out of it. Alright, well I got in here and scooped most of it out. What's left in here is pretty much black stuff stuck to the sides, so for the 15 bushel of corn that's still in here, it's not worth getting the cows sick over it, so we're going to keep the clean corn to the cows and the dirty corn in here. So we're going to call that good, and hopefully I'm able to climb out of this thing because I literally dug myself a hole. So, try and climb out now. Well, there was a little bit in there. Not a whole lot, but there's a few black chunks in there, but I'll pick them out as I feed it. Because I feed it with a 5-gallon bucket, so I can pick the bad stuff out by hand. But there's enough in there to last, I don't know, a month or two, so good enough. At least it didn't all go to waste. But from now on, we're just going to use this as a bulk bin and keep it in the shop.